Iron Man is much more than a superhero. He is a worldwide cultural artifact, mainly because of Robert Downey Jr.'s performance of him in the MCU. This superhero doesn't actually have powers in a sense, or any kind of mutated genes, and instead, he's just a guy with unlimited power in imagination. So, let's go ahead and talk about some things that you might not have known about him. Number 1. He owns Area 51. Tony Stark has done some crazy stuff, especially in the comics. But one of the most outrageous has to be when he casually purchased Area 51. Area 51 is the United States Air Force facility located in Nevada, and it supposedly has a secret purpose that nobody knows about. Within the comics, Tony Stark purchased Area 51 after the government quietly put it up for sale. He told the Avengers, and he seemed pretty proud of what he did, but to be honest, who wouldn't be? Whatever is hidden in Area 51, it's definitely the sort of place that would interest a billionaire like Tony Stark. Number 2. Downey Jr. is incredibly rich because of Iron Man. This probably comes as no surprise to anybody, but playing Iron Man has seen Downey Jr. on top of the Forbes highest paid actors list for 3 consecutive years. He earned around $80 million from Avengers Age of Ultron alone, which is crazy. Downey Jr. is eternally grateful for what he has because he knows that without Iron Man, he wouldn't be where he is today. Number 3. Downey Jr. didn't always like Iron Man. When Tony Stark isn't in his suit saving the world from villains, he's a reckless playboy, but also a troubled billionaire alcoholic. Downey Jr. actually said in an interview, "When I did the first Iron Man, I had all the answers because I was saying this character is essentially an extension of myself." Over time, he admitted that his approach towards playing Iron Man did actually change, and he stressed that he wanted Tony Stark to be more emotionally developed in upcoming movies after he starred in Iron Man, which of course did happen. He actually said, "Stark was kind of an asshole, but we really liked him." Number 4. He is a raging alcoholic. Although Disney is in denial, it's clear that Iron Man is a lover of booze. In the first Iron Man film, it was very obvious that Tony Stark enjoyed his liquor. And in Iron Man 2, we got to see more of his heavy drinking. However, Disney is in denial about Tony's long-term battle with booze. If you're a fan of the comics, you know that Tony Stark has a serious drinking problem. The Demon in a Bottle storyline has been regarded as a great Iron Man story, as people can gain a true understanding of the character when reading it. In the comics, Tony falls off the wagon many times, and screenwriters for Iron Man 3 were actually keen to build upon Stark's struggle with alcohol. However, Disney thought that it would not be appropriate for children to see, and so it was never played upon. Number 5. Tom Cruise almost played as Iron Man. No offense to Cruise or anything, but I definitely think that Downey Jr. was the better choice for this character. Iron Man is one of the coolest characters in the Marvel Universe, so you need to have a just as cool actor to play him. Robert Downey Jr. definitely helped Iron Man live up to the comic book standards. If Cruise had been the one to take on the role of Iron Man, he would have been a lot more clean-cut and wholesome. Thankfully, he was turned down by producers because things just wouldn't be the same if Downey Jr. was not the one to take on the role of Iron Man. Number 6. Tony Stark was a former Secretary of Defense. On the big screen, we see Tony Stark as a rebel. He was rich and successful, but he would also break rules and didn't seem to care. This is why it's a shock to some people to learn that in the comic, Tony Stark was in the pockets of the government, because he was given the role of Secretary of Defense by the president himself. He ended up getting this role after turning down work as a contractor for the US Department of Defense, and he used his role to oversee the military development and use of technology. Number 7. Iron Man joined the Guardians of the Galaxy. The Avengers isn't the only superhero team that Iron Man has associated with within the comics. He actually joined the Guardians of the Galaxy after Marvel decided to relaunch their comic book series on the back of the huge success of the 2014 movie. As well as this, Iron Man also became director of S.H.I.E.L.D. in 2007. Number 8. Marvel took a gamble with Iron Man. It's easy to forget now when we watch Robert Downey Jr. all suited and booted strutting around the place that Iron Man was actually a high-risk character for Marvel when he was first created way back in 1963. Apparently, he was created to see if Marvel could wave their magic wand and make a man who profited from war when this was something that Marvel readership usually disassociated with. I'm going to read off a quote from Stan Lee so you can get a better understanding. "I think I gave myself a dare. It was the height of the Cold War. The readers, the young readers, if there was one thing they hated, it was war. It was the military. So, I got a hero who represented that to the 100th degree. He was a weapons manufacturer. He was providing weapons for the army. He was rich. He was an industrialist. I thought it would be fun to take the kind of character that nobody would like, none of our readers would like, and shove him down their throats and make them like him. And he became very popular. So yeah, Iron Man was a risky figure for Marvel to make, but they did it anyways, and it turned out in their favor. That's all for today though. What'd you think of today's video? Let us know in the comments below. But with that being said, this is the end of the video, so I'll see you in the next one.